Okay, so if you guys haven't heard, obviously there's been a tariff war going on between Trump and multiple countries like Canada, USA, China,
Mexico.
Mexico. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick rundown for the ones who have not been updated with it. This past week, Trump put 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico goods coming in and out of the U.S., shocking both governments with this new proposal. Canada went even as far as to put a tariff charge on American goods, which I'll show you guys a video of Trudeau talking about that. And this proposal would have been detrimental to the citizens of Canada, as some economists were saying that 40% of Canada's GDP is based off of American trade, causing everyday prices to rise exponentially, and some even saying unemployment rates would have doubled within a year. Within 24 to 48 hours of these tariffs in place, Canada and Mexico agreed to send 10,000 border agents per country to go to the respective borders between U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Canada even did a $1.3 billion investment in their border with the U.S., adding a new fentanyl border Cesar, a new border strike force, and now they have labeled cartel as terrorists. As a result of this new agreement, the tariffs have been paused for 30 days to be able to get things in place. But with so many people asking, why did Trump put the tariffs in the first place? Was he just being a bully to make America rich, or did he have a hidden motive in putting these tariffs? What do you think, Dad?
Yes, there's a lot of things that he's doing. Now, first of all, we have the biggest and strongest economy in the world. So put it on tariffs to other countries. He's just leveraging. You know, I read the book, The Art of the Deal, and Donald Trump, all he does in all of his deals for years is leverage. So what leverage can he use to get some sort of outcome? So when it comes to China, let me break down these other two. When it comes to Mexico and Canada, what he really wants is he wants those borders protected. It's fentanyl. It's terrorists that are coming up, not just the immigration issue in the southern border, because in Canada it's not an issue with immigrants coming through Canada, but there are terrorists that have been coming through Canada. In fact, 9/11, the main terrorists came through Canada. They didn't come through the South. And you got fentanyl. But where's fentanyl coming from? Fentanyl's coming from China. So what does he want? He wants tariffs. He was leveraging it so that these guys would actually protect the border, because he shouldn't be the only one responsible for protecting the U.S. border.
We should show the clip of Trudeau.
Yeah, show that.
Tonight, Canada will be responding to the U.S. trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time, to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives.
Okay, so we saw that we had Trudeau saying, okay, we're going to put all these things on U.S. in response to Trump. But then literally 24 hours later, he
Not
tweets
even.
this.
Yeah, not even.
I think it was, like, I remember talking with you in the car in the morning, and then by 3 o'clock, he tweeted this.
Yeah.
I just had a good call with President Trump. Canada's implementing our $1.3 billion border plan, reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, personnel, enhanced coordination with American partners, and stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel will be working on protecting the border. In addition, Canada is making new commitments to appoint a fentanyl Cesar, list cartels as terrorists, 24/7 eyes on the border, and a U.S.-Canada strike force for combat organized crime. So what happened here? Why was Trudeau at first so against Trump, and then suddenly within like 12 to 24 hours he changes his tune?
Because finally Donald Trump pushed the leverage of the tariffs, and he probably already talked to him about protecting the border, but they didn't do anything. Mexico didn't do anything.
Well, because I actually remember, I think it was like it was when Trump was in office before. I remember he did this tweet about how Canada's border is so bad, and then Trudeau responded saying he's going to change stuff, but then he didn't end up changing anything, which what he usually does.
No, and when we think of the border, the fentanyl is really coming through Vancouver borders. Okay, The drugs are coming that direction. So China, Vancouver, if you go to Vancouver, you got a lot of Asians that are in Vancouver. So you got a lot of movement that's coming in through that border on the west coast of Canada. And so I guarantee you the stoppage has to happen over there. And then the stoppage in Mexico has to stop for the immigrants that are coming from the south and the gangs and the rapists. Those guys have to be stopped. And so 10,000, in fact, it's not a lot. 10,000 border agents, or military guys, it's not a lot across that big border on both sides. It's not a lot.
Well, I actually have a crazy stat. So just to show, because a lot of people, I've heard this argument of like, why is he attacking Canada so strongly? They're like the nice country beside us, our little brother neighbor. But the reason why he's doing this is because now Canada is actually the choice of, like, that's the route that terrorists are picking now to sneak into the U.S. So here's a crazy stat. 350 terrorists on the watch list have been apprehended at the Canadian-U.S. border. Compared to Mexico-U.S. border, only 150. So now Canada is actually the preferred choice for terrorists and bad guys and criminals to sneak across the border.
Really?
So that's why Trump is going so aggressive towards Canada. And what would have happened if he would have kept the tariffs on and they didn't do the agreement and had the pause is the people, the citizens of Canada, would have really felt the tariffs. Because Canada is already extremely expensive, but gas would have went through the roof, groceries would have went through the roof, and then the citizens would have been turning on the government. And what I think the ultimate goal is of Trump, because Trudeau, yes, he said he's going to resign, but he's not really resigning.
He's still the prime minister.
He's still the prime minister.
He's just not going to run at the next election.
Yes.
That's what's going on.
But all the liberals are trying to do is trying to sneak in the next guy, I forget his name, where I heard it was like Trudeau would be Joe Biden right now, but the next guy is pretty much just the guy who controls Joe Biden. Joe Biden would be the puppet. This guy's the puppet master. So what they're trying to do is trying to shoe hook the next guy in so it's an easy transition with the liberals, where I think the back hidden motive with Trump is he's trying to just totally eradicate all liberal leadership.
Yeah,
Like
because Canada, well, first of all, Canada is a very liberal country.
Yeah, they lean left.
And they lean left, and so now they're just putting in power those guys.
Yes. But I think he's trying to get rid of all liberal leadership. And all
Yeah,
that.
I couldn't agree.
I think border is like the immediate thing, but in the end, what he's really wanting is the citizens to turn
So
on the
Canada
liberals.
is primarily just liberal, like the
they
population?
lean liberal.
They
yeah.
lean left.
for
yeah.
for a long time.
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
growing up there, you would even talk like just any other, like, say you talk about Trump, or I remember
Like
George Bush.
Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba would be more conservative.
Yeah.
But the populations in Canada, like Ontario, Vancouver, Quebec, those are very liberal provinces.
Yes.
I see.
So it leans liberal. But let's talk about China, because he did this to 3 countries. He did it to China, he did it to Mexico, and he did it to Canada.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, why did he only put 10% on China? And he put 25%. Like he went aggressive on Canada and he went aggressive on Mexico.
So it was border.
Yes, and I think there's more to it even on Canada. I think he wants oil to start flowing, the pipeline from Canada into the U.S., better trade agreements. I think he's going to be pushing for a better trade agreement that's going to be taking place in Canada with Canada and the U.S. and Mexico very, very soon. So
Yeah.
probably in the next couple weeks, there's going to be a new trade agreement. So he's going to get what he wants. But with China's much tougher. China's a bigger deal, because the economic standard of the U.S. and China, they're very close economically. They're powerhouses.
Well, the global GDP.
So U.S. and China are very, very close to each other, and we can put some things on China, but they can put a lot of things on us as well. So we don't have as much leverage. But I see what Donald Trump is doing right from the very get-go. He's actually pushing other things. Think about it. Panama Canal.
Yeah.
Greenland. What is he doing that? Is he bullying Greenland?
Position.
No, it's actually protecting the mainland.
Yeah.
Because what China has been doing, China has been going through South America, and through Russia, you can actually come to the U.S. through the Greenland. So he's trying to protect different parts of the country, of the mainland. And what China has been doing, I looked this up, over 60 countries around the world, China has been giving these countries and offering them a brand new stadium, because these countries, especially poor countries, they love soccer or they love sports so much that they're literally giving countries free stadiums. So like Costa Rica,
What's the other end of the deal? They're not just giving a free stadium.
yeah, free stadium as long as you do a trade agreement with me. But
leverage.
also now we're going to be friends. Don't you remember? I gave you that $500 million stadium. So he's making new agreements with.
Well, and it makes income for that country.
Right. But also, not just the trade agreement, he also wants to gather them to be in bed with China. So Costa Rica, $500 million brand new stadium. El Salvador, he gave them a brand new stadium. And he's offering all these other countries, specifically South African countries. So now
Who's the leader of China?
I forget the president, and Donald Trump's going to be meeting with him, but China wants to come in this direction, and I think we should be really concerned. Donald Trump is definitely concerned about China.
Yeah. Well, I think ultimately his main goal is positioning U.S. to be as strong as possible financially and land-wise, like you were saying. But I have a crazy stat. So, because a lot of people are attacking him for the tariff thing, because Ronald Reagan was actually against tariffs when he was in office.
Right.
But if you look at the GDP of U.S. compared to China back then, China only had like 1.9% of global GDP, which is nothing. China
Very
was
little.
weak.
Yeah.
But then U.S. back then was I think it was like 26% of global GDP, so it's still strong. Now U.S. is 29, China is like 22.
Yeah.
Since then, so China is way stronger, way stronger than what they were. And so he's not necessarily only doing the tariffs just to get money, but it's also positioning of like, because there's so much trade with U.S. and the other countries, he's positioning himself to pretty much do what he wants them to do. Like, I actually have a funny meme about this. I'll show you guys.
He's definitely doing it for leverage.
Yeah. Look at this one. So Trump wants foreign leader to do something. Trump announces tariffs on that country. Left claims tariffs won't work. Leader caves to do what Trump wants.
Pretty quickly.
And so that's essentially what he's doing. He's just saying, okay, I have all the leverage in this situation. 25% tariffs if you don't do this. Just like the Colombia plane thing that we talked about. They weren't going to take back the illegals, and he said, okay, you're going to get tariffs on this. The guy flew his personal plane to pick them up.
Right.
That's literally what he's doing. So a lot of people have to think like, okay, these aren't permanent laws he's putting in place. It's usually a short-term thing to get something he wants.
Right.
But yeah, that's essentially
But it'd be
it,
detrimental to their economy.
if they left it. So he
Dang.
has all the leverage. That's the main thing.